Devarim, or Deuteronomy 11 through 13. And you shall love Yahovah your Elohim and guard his charge, even his laws, his right rulings, and his commands always. And you shall know today, for it is not your children who have not known and who have not seen the discipline of Yahovah your Elohim, his greatness, his strong hand, and his outstretched arm, and his signs, and his works, which he had done in the midst of Mitzrayim, to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and to all his land. And that which he has done to the army of Mitzrayim, to their horses and to their chariots, when he made the waters of the sea of reeds overflow them as they pursued you, and how Yehovah destroyed them to this day, and what he had done for you in the wilderness till you came to this place, and what he had done to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, son of Reuben, when the earth opened up its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households, and their tents, and all the living creatures that were in their possession in the midst of all Israel. For yours are the eyes that saw all the great work of Yehovah which he did, and you shall guard every command which I command you today, so that you are strong, and shall go in, and shall possess the land which you are passing over to possess, and to prolong your days in the land which Yehovah swore to give your fathers to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land which you're going in to possess is not like the land of Mitzrayim from which you've come, where you've sowed your seed and watered it by foot as a vegetable garden. But the land which you're passing over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water from the rain of heavens, a land which Yehovah your Elohim looks after. The eyes of Yehovah your Elohim are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the latter end of the year. And it shall be that if you diligently obey my commands, which I command you today, to love your Elohim and to serve him with all your heart and with all your being, then I shall give you the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain, and you shall gather in your grain and your new wine and your oil, and I shall give grass in your fields for your livestock, and you shall eat and be satisfied. Guard yourselves, lest your heart be deceived and you turn aside and serve other mighty ones and bow down to them. Then the displeasure of Yehovah shall burn against you, and he shall shut up the heavens, and there will be no rain, and the land will not give its increase, and you shall perish quickly from the good land which Yehovah is giving you. And you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your being, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children are increased on the soil which Yehovah swore to your fathers to give them, as the days of the heavens on the earth. For if you diligently guard all these commands which I command you, to do it, to love Yehovah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to cling to him, then Yehovah shall drive out all those nations before you, and you shall dispossess greater and stronger nations than you. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads, is yours. From the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea is your border. No man shall stand against you. Yehovah your Elohim shall put the dread of you and the fear of you upon the land where you tread, as he's spoken to you. See, I'm setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, when you obey the commands of Yehovah your Elohim, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commands of Yehovah your Elohim, but turn aside from the way, which I command you today, to go after other mighty ones which you have not known. And it shall be, when Yehovah your Elohim has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Yarden towards the setting sun in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the desert plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Moreh? For you're passing over the Yarden to go and to possess the land which Yehovah your Elohim is giving you, and you shall possess it, and dwell in it, and shall guard to do all the laws and right rulings which I'm setting before you today. Chapter 12. These are the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land which Yehovah, Elohim of your fathers, is giving you to possess all the days you live on the soil. Completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are dispossessing served their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall break down their slaughter places and smash their pillars and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images of their mighty ones and shall destroy their name out of that place. Do not do so to Yehovah your Elohim, but seek the places which Yehovah your Elohim chooses out of all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling place, and there you shall enter. And there you shall take your ascending offerings and your slaughters and your tithes and the contributions of your hand and your vowed offerings and your voluntary offerings and the firstlings of your herd and of your flock, and there you shall eat before Yehovah your Elohim, and shall rejoice in all you put your hand to, you and your households, in which Yehovah your Elohim has blessed you. Do not do as we're doing here today, each one doing whatever's right in his own eyes, because you've not yet entered the rest and the inheritance which Yehovah your Elohim is giving you. But you shall pass over the Yarden and shall dwell in the land Yehovah your Elohim is giving you to inherit. And he shall give you rest from all your enemies round about, and you shall dwell in safety. And it shall be that unto the place which Yehovah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell there, there you're to bring all that I command you, your ascending offerings, and your slaughters, and your tithes, and the contributions of your hand, and all your choice offerings which you vow to Yehovah. And you shall rejoice before Yehovah your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters and your male servants and your female servants, and the Levite who's within your gates, since he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Guard yourself that you do not offer your ascending offerings in every place that you see, except in the place which Yehovah chooses, in one of your tribes. There you're to offer your ascending offerings, and there You are to do all that I command you. Only, whatever your being desires, you shall slaughter and eat, according to the blessing of Yahovah your Elohim, which he has given you, within all your gates. The unclean and the clean do eat of it, of the gazelle and the deer alike. Only the blood you do not eat. Pour it on the earth like water. You're not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or of your oil, or of the firstling of your herd or your flock, or of any of your offerings which you vow, or of your voluntary offerings, or of the contribution of your hand. But eat them before Yehovah your Elohim in the place which Yehovah your Elohim chooses. You and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and the Levite who is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yehovah your Elohim in all that you put your hand to. Guard yourselves, that you do not forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. When Yehovah your Elohim enlarges your border as he has promised you, and you say, "Let me eat meat," because you long to eat meat, you eat as much meat as your being desires. When the place where Yehovah your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, then you shall slaughter from your herd and from your flock, which Yehovah has given you, as I've commanded you, and you shall eat within your gates as much as your being desires. Only as the gazelle and the deer are eaten, so you are to eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Only be strong not to eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Do not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it. Pour it on the earth like water. Do not eat it, that it might be well with you and your children after you when you do what is right in the eyes of Yehovah. Only the set-apart gifts which you have and your vowed offerings you are to take up and go to the place which Yehovah chooses. And you shall make your ascending offerings, the meat and the blood, on the slaughter place of your Elohim. And the blood of your slaughterings is poured out on the slaughter place of Yehovah your Elohim. And you eat the meat. Guard and obey all the words which I command you, that it might be well with you and your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yehovah your Elohim. When Yehovah your Elohim does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you're not ensnared to follow them after they're destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their mighty ones, saying, "How did these nations serve their mighty ones? And let me do so too." Do not do so to Yehovah your Elohim, for every abomination which Yehovah hates, they have done to their mighty ones. For they even burn their sons and daughters in fire to their mighty ones. All the words I'm commanding you to guard, do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Chapter 13. When there arises among you a prophet, or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or wonder, and the sign or wonder shall come true of what he's spoken to you, saying, "Let us go after other mighty ones which you've not known and serve them." Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yehovah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being. Walk after Yehovah your Elohim and fear him and guard his commands and obey his voice and serve him and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams is put to death because he's spoken apostasy against Yehovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim and ransomed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yehovah your Elohim commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge evil from your midst. When your brother, the son of your mother, or the son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend, who is as your own being, entices you secretly, saying, "Let us go and serve other mighty ones, which you've not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the mighty ones of the people which are all around you, near to you, or far off from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth," do not agree with him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pardon him, nor spare him, nor conceal him. But you shall certainly kill him. Your hand is first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from Yehovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. And let all Israel hear and fear, and not again do any such evil matter as this in your midst. When you hear someone in one of your cities, which Yehovah your Elohim gives you to dwell in, saying, "Some men, sons of Belial, have gone out of your midst and led the inhabitants of their city astray, saying, 'Let us go serve other mighty ones whom you have not known,' then you shall inquire, search out, and ask diligently, and see if the matter is true and established, that this abomination was done in your midst. You shall certainly strike the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, putting it under the ban, and all that is in it, and its livestock, with the edge of the sword, and gather all its plunder into the middle of the street, and completely burn with fire the city and all its plunder before Yehovah your Elohim, and it shall be a heap forever, never to be built again. And none of that which is put under the ban is to cling to your hand, so that Yehovah turns from the fierceness of his displeasure, and shall show you compassion to love you and increase you, as he swore to your fathers, when you obey the voice of Yehovah your Elohim, to guard all his commands which I command you today, and to do what is right in the eyes of Yehovah your Elohim."